Hi, Will from Fologram here. In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to modify the models that you're working with in Rhino, as well as modify them using the Fologram menu tools on the HoloLens. So we'll cover moving and placing your model in the physical environment that you're in, as well as scaling the model using the Fologram scale tool in the Fologram for Rhino plugin and on the HoloLens, and lastly, rotating your model. In the next tutorial, after this one, we'll cover accurate placement of your model relative to physical environments using the Fologram image target. So to get started, whack the headset on. So I've just got a really simple model for demonstrating moving, rotating, and scaling on the HoloLens and in Rhino. So I've got some boxes here. If I select one of the boxes, it'll show up on the HoloLens as a bright white material. So any selections that you make in Rhino should also be reflected on the HoloLens. Equally, if I tap on an object on the HoloLens, that will select that object in Rhino. If you tap on nothing, it deselects all of the objects that you have selected. Now, if I move objects in Rhino, and I'm using the Rhino 5 gumball here, so if I drag my gumball, we'll see those update on the HoloLens. If I rotate the objects with the gumball, they'll also rotate on the HoloLens. And if I scale them up or down, they'll scale on the HoloLens. And I'll hold Shift to get uniform scaling here. Another way of scaling in Rhino is using the scale tool here, and this is really useful for if you have a model which is modeled at 1:1, which is how you would normally work in Rhino, but you want to display the model on the HoloLens at a different scale, let's say 1:100 or 1:200, you can use the scale tool here to set that scale. So let's say 0.1, that would be 1:10. We'll get a really, really tiny model. If I set it back to 1, it'll scale that model back up to 1:1. So that's a useful tool for setting very, very explicit scales without changing the geometry in your model, which you are unlikely to want to do. All right, next is manipulating your model using the HoloLens. All this does is it manipulates the display of your model. It doesn't change the geometry in your Rhino document at all. So if we tap and hold to open the Fologram menu, you'll see all of the different menu tools that are available. And as I move my hand to the adjust menu, or depending on the version of Fologram that you're working with, you may move your head to use your gaze to select icons in the menu. We can then see we have tools for scaling, placing, moving, and rotating our model. So I'm going to go in and let's play with the scale tool first. So you hover your white circle over the tool and release the tap gesture to start that command. And then you can copy the little ghostly hand, so tapping and dragging to scale your model on the HoloLens. Tapping and dragging can be a little bit tricky, and a good rule of thumb is as soon as you feel your index finger hit your thumb, just start moving your hand in order to trigger the drag gesture on the HoloLens. If you tap and hold your index finger and thumb together, it's going to open the menu if you're not moving your hand at all. So we're back in the menu here. The rotate tool, that's fairly self-explanatory. So again, tap and drag will rotate your object. And the rotate tool makes very minor adjustments for the first part of the motion of your hand. And then as you move your hand further away, your object will rotate much, much, much faster. So you can make fine adjustments by moving your hand a little bit, very large adjustments by moving your hand a lot. Okay, lastly, let's look at the two place and move commands. So move will let you kind of pick up and move your hand around. So the relative motion, move your model around. The relative motion of your hand is going to affect how your model moves. Okay, place command. The place command is just takes you back to when you first are asked to place your model when you launch Fologram. So as you look around the room using your gaze, you can locate the construction plane and then perform a tap gesture to lock the model in place.